Hi, I'm Mark Schorr. I'm the lead developer, or development lead for the games platform here at the New York Times. And I want to shout out to my bosses over there for paying me to do something that I want to do since I was 6. I'm going to talk today about HTML5 crosswords. This is a developer's proposal. Oops. There we go. So, not so legal notice that this is one developer's opinion on how things can be done. I'm not speaking as this is the Times strategy. This is just something that I've been developing and working on, so this may or may not happen. Just to it doesn't mean we're not doing anything. So, I just want to throw out a question out there. It seems like I'm starting with Terry, but how many of you out there spend part of your day around a certain technology or activity? Anyone, Foursquare, like, hey, I'm going to make sure I check in here every day, and check in here every day, trying to get my mayorship up. Well, for millions of people, it's the New York Times crossword. Our subscribers are, in a word, dedicated. When things go wrong, and occasionally things do go wrong with our data feeds, I see emails like, it's my life dream to solve the New York Times crossword puzzle, and today you crushed my dream. It's a real email we got this week with a feed problem. So, like medicine, they solve the puzzle daily. So we're going to step out from technology and talk a little history. Don't worry, I won't quiz you on dates. 1913, the first crossword puzzle is published in New York World newspaper, and people start solving it. Not everyone likes it. 1924, an article's written in the New York Times. Sinful Waste, I think, is the best term. And it continued back and forth until 1942, when we jump on the bandwagon too, and published the first crossword puzzle. Here actually is, had someone dig it up from the archive. This is the actual newspaper magazine. It's New York Times Magazine from 1942. Well, some of the clues are completely ridiculous from our mindset, but in the 1940s it makes perfect sense. All right, lots of things happen about crosswords, and I could spend 3 hours talking about traditions and customs, and there was a TV show in the 80s about crosswords, but we're all talking about technology. So 1996 comes around, nytimes.com is launched, and we have a crossword app. Well, it's an application, really. You download it. It's called a CrossLite. So you download and install it. There's a Windows and Mac version, and every day you can go and download a binary data file and play it on your computer. That's 1996. 2006 comes around, and they made a movie about crossword puzzles. And it's a good one. I do recommend it if you're into documentary style films. But we're still using a CrossLite. Maybe now we could innovate a little bit. Maybe not. Now we're 2012. We have the pay model. We have tens of thousands paying digital crossword subscribers. Maybe now we can innovate. Maybe. So I want to talk a little bit about our current crossword experience, and there's one word that came to my mind: hodgepodge. We have, I think, 11 different ways you can play the crossword in some sort of electronic format. This does not include the paper, which is the bulk of our actual players, nor does it include acrostics and other type of one-off puzzles. And I'll go through this pretty quickly because there's lots of screenshots. Here is a CrossLite. We originally started this in 1996. We're still using it today. I'm not saying that there's been no development. The company that does make this is all third party. They do constantly say, okay, we have a new version of the software. It does solve the puzzle, but this is something you download and install and then get files. We also have lots of Java applets. So you can play against the clock. You can play and solve with a friend. There's the classic puzzle. There's a classic challenge, excuse me. This is a head-to-head game. There's the classic puzzle from the archive, which is a different applet for some reason. Why is that? It doesn't even look like the others. Then we have Times Reader, which is an app that Adobe wrote for us. Thank you, Adobe. Using their Air platform. We do have an official iPhone and iPad app. We all have a third party. Again, that's third party as well. Actually, all of this is third party, really. Android app. You can get it on Kindle and Kindle Fire now. There's the Nook, There is, I don't have a slide, I forgot, we do actually have a BlackBerry app. Don't know who's using that either. And if that isn't enough, if it isn't enough, now you can finally download it as a PDF and print it and take it with you. So talk about branding for a second. The New York Times is big about their brand. Every meeting I go to, they will talk about the brand, and it has to look, and where's the brand? The brand is the puzzle. But outside of that, there's nothing Timesian about it. And that can be maybe confusing for the users, especially, and also for the company, which is brand is something we hold very dear. So, there's a real lack of uniform experience. So why HTML5? Well, I'm a JavaScript developer. Why should I go learn something new? This is something I already know. Canvas is also really fun to mess with, so that helped a little bit. We also have a huge team of web developers and CSS experts. So if I'm developing something and I have a problem, I'm not an island. I've got a team to help me. They're not maybe working on HTML5 or any, but they're experts at this. I can go talk to CSS. So we have the infrastructure here to both develop and deploy. We don't need any plugins. That's a big deal for us. No more Java applets. No more downloading. You know, I'm hanging out with my cousins and I'm bored. Hey, can I borrow your computer and install this app or application? Oh, I'll uninstall it when I'm done. It shouldn't leave any DLLs lying around or anything. So there's a lot of flexibility with that. We use Modernizer as one of the libraries in developing HTML5 to check, do we have what are features? And we give a very gentle, okay, you're in a lower, your browser doesn't handle this. Okay, so we'll cut out this feature, but you'll still get a uniform experience. So I'm going to take a step back. This is a slide I help use for some explaining this whole process to some business people. This should look familiar to most developers in the room. When developing an app, what do you do? Go, okay, I'm going to develop the web app, and then oh no, we're developing a Windows app or application, excuse me. And you create design, test code, and deploy. But you think of that from, you always start from, this is the Windows crossword app. This is the Mac crossword app. Your platform is really what what you're focusing on, then you're adding your product on top of it. In HTML5, you can get a slightly different way of thinking. You don't have to worry so much about the platform. You can spend your energy and the bulk of your time developing your product. This is really important. I've been working on developing a crossword app, and I didn't care so much. I mean, the web browser was my initial thing, but I knew it was going to work in the iPad. And then we just did some testing and found what the problems were. So you really can, in the previous slide, these are all usually separate teams. So I got to build my web team, and then I build my Windows team, and so on and so forth. I put Linux in there, but nobody. I mean, I'm a Linux guy, but nobody cares about developing for Linux. Nobody cares about Linux. The point being is that these are usually separate islands. If I have a cool new, let's say we build all this and then we have a cool new feature. All right, get the web guys together. Let's see if they can do it. Oh, the Windows guys can't do it. So we're going to have, our product's going to start to veer. Even if you design everything at the beginning, it's going to start to venture. And you can see with our current crossword experience, that's what it seems to be like. We built this app, or we had someone build that for us, and we left it. It worked, so we leave it there. And then we build something else, but we don't ever go back. With this new model, you can make changes, and it just sort of rolls down. You need to spend a little more time doing design, but you can design everything all at once. It's just a different screen now. And you really should spend your time and energy in QA, which nobody does anyway, but which you should do, even if you have all that. Build a bigger QA team. You'll be happier in the end. So, real people do real things. So myself and a colleague, friend, developer, Bobby Rowe, Bobby's here, we decided to set out, we really actually didn't set out to build a crossword app. We set out, let's figure out something cool to do with Canvas and HTML5, something we were interested in, and crosswords just lend itself to it. So we built this in our spare time, and we threw it up on Beta 620. It's our New York Times experimental website. This is publicly available. You guys can go check it out at your own leisure. It works. Some of the cool features about this is stuff you're not going to see, but the puzzle, the .puz file, which is what we download, is a binary data file. So I went out and found how to modify a binary file reader in JavaScript. That was kind of fun. This works. You can see that I started solving because I'm using local storage to save my clues, and this all works. This is all Canvas. It's fast. It feels right, and it feels like our apps. But now we can skin it. problem with an application is we can't throw an ad on there. Which, by the way, this is how the Times makes money. We throw ads on things. So can't throw an ad on a third-party downloadable application. So that's that. So this being a tech thing, more code demo is definitely more gooder. So let me show you some cool things. There isn't any rocket science with the Beta 620 app and the subsequent app, because what I've done was I take this and I continue working on it and prototyping and trying different things out. There's no rocket science here. I download a data file, I convert it to JSON. The rest of the functions are just to manipulate that JSON and redraw canvas. This is stuff, here's the code. Here you go. You look through this, there's nothing out of it, there's no magic here. It's all, you should know this. This is all basic stuff. That function's not too exciting. So, but there were some things that we did come along the way. Right. So I'm going to give you the point of this lesson at the beginning of it. The point of this lesson is to read specs. Read them. They're boring and dry. No offense to the people who write them. But you'll learn things that you weren't thinking about before. So constraining text. So in a crossword puzzle, you have a single square, and with a single letter, it's no big deal. We know it's going to be X font size, and it'll work. Great, no problem here. I'll put a W in there. But there's something called a rebus, which for non-crossword puzzle solvers is a whole word in a square. So one time, I think it was a Halloween one, the key word was ghost. And you can see here, the text is fitting, it fits. As you see, as I'll go back, it's getting smaller. Now there were two ways of doing this. That's why I have two. On the red side is the more traditional way. This is my first pass at it without reading specs. And what do I figure out? Oh, we start at 200. Canvas has a great function called measure text, and what that does, if you're not familiar, is you set all your font settings, which I have already, previously, not on this, but it's set there, just trust me, and it goes, if I was to draw this right now, how big would it be? And so I check, okay, it's going to be this wide. Oh, it's too wide for our 300, so we keep decrementing. This is it's a little taxing. It's not very efficient. I think my algorithm professor in college would be pretty annoyed with it, order of operations. But it does work. Maybe I could save it and make it more efficient. On the right side was something after I was flipping through the book. I just discovered this not a week ago, that there's another option in fill text, and it's a max width. And Canvas, the API, people definitely smarter than I am, figured out how to squish everything down and get it to fit. So we can go back. Go back, and you'll see that it fits. On the green side, I didn't have to do any math. It's all there for me. One thing, it's a little squished, so designers may not like this. The only benefit of having it squished text is that, and I just learned today, thank you, Andre, that it will keep the text, all this text, if you had this in a line of text, all of it would be the same height, which is the reason why. But two ways of doing it. Again, read the specs. All right. Making the iPad a keyboard sit up and bag. The Beta 620 app, we were all very proud of. Bobby had an iPad, we threw it in there, and it worked. The Java, it worked. The touch, we didn't have to do any special touch features. The canvas worked. We could do something, but where's the keyboard? A keyboard you got a laptop, you got a desktop, it's there. It's always there. The browser's taking care of it. But on the iPad, something needs to trigger it. We did all sorts of searches. We checked, hey, maybe there's a hack. We were going to read the WebKit source code. Maybe there's some sort of trick in there that nobody knows about. We didn't do that. In the end, what did we do? At first, we had a hidden text box behind the canvas that we would move around. And we would do some crazy stuff with focusing. And it worked. It was so hacky. I couldn't live with myself. It was just, this isn't elegant. So we put it up to the table. And then recently, I was working with one of our mobile developers. And he said, hey, why don't you check out Chris Ladd. Chris is here. Say hi, Chris. Content editable. And you can throw this. So this attribute, you can throw on anything. I put it on Canvas. But you can put this on anything. In fact, I've made it on this div, and now I can edit the page or the text or whatever. One great artifact of this is on the iPad and Android phones, it pops the keyboard up because now you have a keyboard because the iPad recognizes that this is now something you can edit, so it gives you text. So now we threw this in our prototype here, and it works on the iPad. I don't need to build a custom keyboard, which was something else that the mobile teams I should never ever do. Use what's there. responsive canvas. Responsive web is, I'm a big fan. I love it. It's a lot of fun. I like math, so it's right up my alley. But scaling canvas doesn't work so well in the traditional responsive framework with responsive DOM and CSS. In fact, here's a tidbit. If you're ever doing anything with canvas, never, ever, ever resize canvas using CSS. You get strange artifacts. Things don't line up on pixels right. I couldn't figure out why it wasn't just, it's just fuzzy. All right. So responsive canvas. So this little function, what it does is it gets the div. We know the div. That's resized by the browser. And canvas, this is actually the canvas object. You can get the width, but you can also set the width. And it resizes. And then all you do is wipe and redraw. And folks, this really works. Really. So here is, again, the Beta 620 prototype. That's not publicly. This is my own little private one. But I want to shout out to this guy. They did this responsive web design bookmarklet. I have a link to it later. It's great. So here's what it looks like in the main browser, but let's see what it looks like on the iPad. You see it's still our responsive framework. Our clues have moved down, but the grid hasn't changed. What's it look like on the iPhone? There it is. That is Canvas. This is not an image. This works. I mean, I think some of the skinny, letter sizes I haven't played around with. But this works. Let's go back to the iPad. I'm resizing on the fly as I go along. This works here. This is big. One little function. No, sorry. One little function that fits on a slide deck resizes for different browsers. The money that this saves is crazy. Business people pay attention. I'm just one guy, and I'm getting this to work on all the devices. What's this? I'm the games lead, and some reason that means I still have to support all our legacy systems. So I get emails from the editors, and they're really passionate because they're ex-crossword solvers as well, or current crossword solvers, I suppose. They're very passionate. So I'll get emails going, hey, the editor wants to do this. Wouldn't it be cool if we could do this? I sent a very nice email saying, well, since you only publish these once every 7 millennia, that maybe it's not so much, but I'm also a tinkerer, and I have to solve problems. And so on the bus back to Jersey one night, I sat, it's a pretty picture. Let's see some code. So I sat and tinkered with this. Let me find it, sorry. And my high school math teacher would be really pleased with me. So it's just a lot of trigonometry. It's not the most efficient function. I got to do it over twice. You loop through it twice. First I draw the spiral, but oh yeah, it works. This is Canvas. This is not an image. This is drawing it when this loads. I'm pretty pleased with myself. So what else? So we even got more stuff to talk about, but for the sake of time, we're planning on doing offline access. We've gone with using app cache and local storage. I want it so that if you've got an iPad with just Wi-Fi, that I'm home, I can load the page, blink, it downloads. I didn't think about it. It's there. I go on a train. I'm on a bus. It's there. Everything works. And that's the thing about the HTML5. I don't need to go native. It's there on my browser. In fact, now all I need the App Store is just for marketing, because that's how people expect to get applications. So it's really a mindset of training users, which we all know doesn't really work as well as you think. What about IE? IE 9's great. IE 10 I hear all about all the time, but the times I just checked today because it changes every now and then. Here's my note. So we still have to support IE 7 and IE 8, which do not have necessarily all these functionalities. So we found some promise with something called Explore Canvas. I believe it converts the canvas to I'm not even sure what it does, but it works. It's the important part of the story. So we use Explore Canvas in combination with Modernizer. So you're in an version of IE, you can get the canvas, but you don't have local storage available. That's fine. We sort of degrade your performance from a whole feature set, but you still can play the crossword, and it's not. We did some market research, and it turns out the people who do solve our crossword puzzles are a little older than we expected. and may not necessarily keep their browsers fresh. It's okay, we got you covered. You know, my objective when I go to meetings, it's like, I don't want to turn away customers just because you don't want to upgrade your browser. The responsive design bookmarklet was a great tool. Just send it out. And some other fun stuff. CanIUse.com lists a lot of the HTML5 features, so you can see where it's supported. So it takes a little bit of guesswork. HTML5 test is a lot of fun to run, especially if a friend gets a Windows phone and it gets a 17, when most modern browsers are running a 300. And because it's HTML5, I want to give a shout out to the people who did Impress.js. This whole presentation is HTML5 based. Impress.js is a lot of fun, especially if you're a web developer, because PowerPoint makes my eyes bleed. Finally, what to take away from this? We didn't need to go native. We're building a real app, and it really works. It works in the iPad. It works on browsers. It's going to work in lots of places. All I have to worry about is the little differences. I use some object-oriented JavaScript and say, okay, you're on the iPad and we need these extra features. We can just pop in a module and get on with our lives. This was not possible 2 years ago. It's really come a long way. We're not talking about stuff that's going to be down the road. We're talking about stuff that exists today. Not using anything fancy. We're 100% web technologies. We're doing 0% on compromise.